It was supposed to be a simple fitting. That's what my secretary told me. But the moment I looked in the mirror, I knew this wasn't about work anymore. Her name was Annabelle. 27 years old, calm, precise, the kind of woman who never needed to raise her voice to be heard. She had this quiet authority that made everyone in the room lean in just a little closer when she spoke. She told me, "Trust me." And I did. That single choice. That one quiet yes. It would lead me into the most unexpected discovery of my life. I thought I understood confidence. I thought I knew myself. I'd spent 33 years building an identity, a business, a version of myself that made sense to everyone around me. I was wrong. Completely wrong. And it all started with a fitting I never saw coming. My name is Danny, 33 years old, founder of a small research and branding agency here in the city. I lived for structure, meetings at 9, data reviews by noon, client presentations meticulously planned down to the minute. I found comfort in control, in knowing exactly what came next. Numbers didn't lie, systems didn't fail. If you built something solid enough, it would hold. That's what I believed anyway. Annabelle joined my team about a year ago as my secretary. From day one, she was different. Sharp, graceful, observant, in a way that went beyond just doing her job well. She had this rare ability to balance professionalism with warmth. She anticipated what people needed before they said it. But more than that, every client admired her presence, the way she carried herself, the way she could make silence feel confident instead of awkward, the way she moved through a room like she belonged everywhere and nowhere all at once. I trusted her judgment, always. She never missed a deadline, never overlooked a detail, and she had this uncanny way of knowing what I needed before I did. Until one afternoon in late September, she said something that stopped me cold. I was reviewing quarterly reports, half-focused, my mind already on the next fire to put out. She walked into my office, closed the door behind her with that gentle but deliberate click, and stood there for a moment. Then she said it. "You'll need to come for a fitting before tomorrow's client session." I looked up from my screen, confused. A fitting? For me? I wasn't a model. I wasn't the face of the brand. I was the guy behind the spreadsheets, the strategy, the safe distance between idea and execution. But something in her expression told me this wasn't a suggestion. That was the day everything quietly began to shift, though I didn't know it yet. I assumed it was just a formality. Maybe she wanted me to check the quality of the clothing line our fashion client was launching. Maybe it was about understanding fabric weight or cut for the presentation deck. But when I asked her to clarify, her tone shifted, still calm, still measured, but firm. "You can't sell transformation unless you've experienced it yourself." I blinked at her, waiting for more context. She didn't offer any. Something in her voice made me pause, made me pay attention in a way I hadn't been paying attention in months, maybe years. Later that day, just before 5, she appeared at my door again. This time, she was holding a garment bag, black fabric, long zipper running down the center. She laid it carefully across the chair in front of my desk. "Trust me," she said again. Same tone, same poise. But this time, it felt like more than a professional request. I unzipped the bag slowly, almost cautiously, and inside was a cream-colored blazer dress. Structured shoulders, tailored waist, elegant lines, the same style she often wore to client meetings. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud, expecting her to smile, to tell me she was kidding, that this was some elaborate team-building joke. But she didn't. Her expression didn't change at all. "You're serious?" I asked. "Completely," she said. "If you can feel transformation, you'll finally understand what you've been trying to present to others." I stared at the dress, then at her, then back at the dress. My first instinct was to refuse, to laugh it off, deflect, make some joke about company policy or professional boundaries. But there was something in her eyes, not a challenge, not manipulation, just certainty. Like she knew something I didn't, something I needed to know. Reluctantly, I agreed. I told myself it was for research, for the presentation, for the client. But deep down, underneath all the rational justifications, curiosity was winning. And that terrified me more than I wanted to admit. She left the room to give me privacy. I stood there for a long moment, just staring at the dress draped across the chair. The fabric looked soft, expensive, real. I exhaled slowly and started to change. When I slipped it on, I expected to feel ridiculous, exposed, like I was playing dress-up in someone else's life. But instead, I felt strangely composed. The fabric settled against my skin with an unexpected weight. It didn't restrict me. It shaped me. The structure of the blazer pulled my shoulders back, straightened my spine. I stood taller. I turned toward the full-length mirror in the corner of my office, the one I usually ignored, and looked at myself. For a moment, I didn't recognize the person staring back. Not because I looked strange, but because I looked different. Softer somehow, yet stronger. Then, there was a knock at the door. Annabelle's voice, quiet but clear. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then said yes. She stepped inside, closed the door behind her, and just watched. No smirk, no teasing, just steady professional observation. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Confidence isn't about the fabric. It's about how you allow yourself to be seen." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The words hit somewhere deeper than logic, deeper than language. I'd spent years trying to control how the world saw me, building the right image, saying the right things, wearing the right armor. But what if confidence wasn't control? What if it was just me? I took the dress off that day, changed back into my shirt and slacks, handed the garment bag back to Annabelle with a quiet thank you. She nodded, said nothing more, and left. But the question lingered. That quiet whisper followed me home, followed me into sleep, followed me into the days that came after. I told myself it was over, but every reflection after that felt different, like a question had been left unanswered, and I couldn't shake it. Days passed, maybe a week, maybe two, but her words haunted me. You can't sell change until you've experienced it yourself. One evening, I stayed late at the office. The building was quiet, the cleaning crew long gone. Just me, the hum of the air conditioning, and the faint glow of the city lights through the window. I was organizing samples for an upcoming pitch when I saw it. One of the outfits our fashion client had sent over. A rose mauve satin gown. I must have walked past that gown 5 times, picked it up, put it down, told myself it was ridiculous, and yet, every time, my hand found its way back to that fabric. Long sleeves, soft draping at the chest, the kind of fabric that shimmered with every shift of light. I stopped, stood there, staring at it. My hand reached out before I could stop myself, fingers brushing the satin, smooth, cool, impossibly soft. I told myself it was harmless curiosity, professional interest, just touching fabric, that's all. But my heartbeat said otherwise. That night, I took the gown home. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. Maybe that was the point. At home, the silence was heavier than usual. The kind of silence that amplifies every thought, every doubt, every question you've been avoiding. The dress hung across my arm, glowing faintly under the lamplight. Rose, blush, dusk pink. I hesitated, paced the length of my apartment, questioned myself a dozen different ways, until I heard her voice again, that calm, unwavering tone. You can't sell change until you've experienced it yourself. Slowly, carefully, I slipped into the gown. The satin glided up my skin like water, cool at first, then warm, almost alive. It wasn't tight, just close enough to make me aware of every breath, every movement, every heartbeat. The color reflected softly in the mirror across from me. Rose mauve, gentle, unapologetic. I took a slow breath and looked up. What I saw wasn't strange. It was grounding, like sunlight breaking through water for the first time, soft and clear and impossible to unsee. The person in the reflection wasn't the man buried in deadlines and expectations, wasn't the founder always 3 steps ahead, always planning, always controlling. This person looked balanced, calm, expressive, free. I stood there for a long time, just looking, just breathing. Then, almost without thinking, I added a touch of foundation, a faint, nude lip color. Nothing dramatic, just completion. And for the first time in years, I smiled at my reflection. Not a polite smile, not a professional smile, a real one. I turned slightly, watching how the fabric flowed. Silent, graceful, patient. The gown moved with me, not against me, like it had been waiting for this moment as long as I had. That was the moment I understood what transformation really meant. It wasn't about pretending, it wasn't about becoming someone else, it was about permission. Permission to meet the parts of yourself you'd been taught to hide, to explore the softness you'd been told was weakness, to embrace the fluidity you'd been told was confusion. And I'd just given myself that permission. For the first time in my life, I'd said yes to something I didn't fully understand, and it felt like coming home. The next morning, something inside me had shifted. I can't explain it better than that. It wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, but it was real. The world felt lighter, slower, quieter. I moved through my morning routine with a calmness I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. At work, I carried that same energy. Posture softer, tone measured, presence unforced. I didn't try to be different, I just was. Annabelle noticed immediately. She didn't say anything at first, just watched me during our morning briefing, a faint smile playing at the corner of her lips. Later, as I was reviewing contracts in my office, she stopped by with coffee. "You seem different," she said. I looked up at her, smiled, and said nothing. She didn't need to know why. Maybe she already did. Since that night, I've occasionally revisited that feeling. Slipping into a dress when the world gets too loud, when I need to remember what it feels like to breathe without armor. Not to hide, not to escape, to connect. It reminded me that confidence doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and sometimes it wears satin. Months later, that moment still lives in me. I still have that gown, tucked quietly in my closet, waiting for the moments I need to remember who I am, for the memory, for the reminder that I'm more than the roles I play, more than the expectations I carry, more than the version of myself I built to survive. It's not rebellion. It's not a statement. It's connection, a way to meet the part of me that loves softness and strength in equal measure. The part that doesn't need permission anymore, but still appreciates the quiet ritual of choosing myself. She said it was just a fitting, but it became the night I stopped fighting myself. She taught me to trust her. But somewhere along the way, I learned to trust myself. The night I met the person I was meant to be, not defined by gender or rules or other people's comfort. Defined by truth, my truth. And in that truth, I found something I'd been searching for my entire life. Peace. So let me ask you, who was your Annabelle? Who helped you see yourself differently? Quietly, patiently, without forcing you? Tell me your story below, because transformation doesn't always start with chaos. Sometimes, it begins with one quiet voice saying, "Trust me." If this story touched something in you, join our family here at the Gender Diary. Subscribe, share, and be part of a community where every transformation is celebrated.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.